Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is 8:35 on Thursday, the 4th of December. Christmas is only 3 weeks away today. At this time of the day, at this time of the week, it can only mean one thing. It is that frontline report from the property market in the UK and small business. Wherever you're getting your podcast, thank you so much for spending time with us today. Now, this show would be boring if it was just one of us. So there's always a pair, a bit like Rudolph and Comet. There's always more power with two rather than one. So, Grifter, good morning, good morning, good morning. How the devil are you, my darling? Rate your week.
I'm really good. So sorry to our listeners that Martyn's a little bit glitchy today. So I think there's a small issue up north with the internet and the mouse going round in its wheel currently. So a good week. Kind of like the budget is yesterday's news, so that's out of the way. So that's fantastic. And people are a little bit more focused, they're a little bit more centered. So Christmas is kind of on one shoulder, but actually what people are planning to do in 2026 is certainly on the other that I'm finding. I'm having some really good conversations with potential clients, which is awesome. Obviously, we are riding through for the last few weeks before we get told that there are no more deals after the 15th of December. There are no more transactions after the 19th. We're getting told that all the time now. So that's fantastic. We've got our end date. We've got a plan, which is superb. But obviously, sometimes plans go awry. If you write it down, it will happen. Anyway, that's the thought, isn't it? So rate the week. Well, I'm kind of banking my stock now for 2026. So I've got I'm into double figures for potential, sorry, Martyn, swear word, Boxing Day listings and for 2026 listings. And I'm just kind of getting everything ready for 2026. And I'm not pausing in December. We're still trying to do some deals, but it's a bit sticky on the deal front. Valuations are good. So I'm going to say it's an 8.1. An 8.1 for my week.
That's good. I'll take that. I'm going to go a solid 8. 8. 8. I'll let you have your 8.1. I want to go in at 8. Okay. You're right. There is a huge amount, a colossal amount of time on those deals that are trying to get in before Christmas. That deadline of Christmas is absolutely crackers. Unbelievable how much impetus people put on just this one day. But I suppose the problem is that, as you say, last year is the 19th of December. Then when will the first one be? About the 15th of January. So it's and those people who aren't going to be done before Christmas, well, what's happened to their files? I mean, let's just see what happens and how much work's done on those. But anyway, let's get off that box. Lots of time on the pipeline, but there's been some appraisals about market appraisals have been plenty for December, so I am going to take it as we are. I did have a client ring the office to turn around and say, now the budget is out of the way, can we expect an uptick in activity, please? It's like, well, you know, it is December. There we go.
Sitting firmly on your shoulders there. Sitting firmly on your shoulders. It's all on you. Can you now make the market happen?
Exactly right. 100, because we didn't do anything in November. Absolutely right. So, Grifter, the title of our show is, we've been talking about, there's been a theme through our podcast over the last few weeks about getting ready and preparing for next year. And we talked a few weeks back about don't write off December. We talked last week about making sure that everything was shipshape and Bristol fashion going forward. This week, we've got the survival guide to 2026, which I think is probably the most important one for where we're going forward. So very much looking forward to this show. We both had our own ideas of what should go in a survival kit for 2026. This list will be available after the show. If people want it, please comment in the comment box and we'll happily share this list with you. But shall we start with kicking off with the most important one?
Okay, all right. So I just wanted to say that what we're trying to do is give you a real, honest, unfiltered version, which is what you hear on House of Property. So if you want fluffy, go and listen to a meditation podcast. Here, you get the truth.
Yes, okay. So it's hard-hitting, go hard or go home, have the difficult conversation. Now, let's do it. I like that. So the first one, which I would argue you are better at than I, if I was doing it individually, that was very honest, wasn't it? You see, I'm sure that my competitors will use it against me. Following up is the new prospecting. Following up is the new prospecting. So what I think about this, it's a big one, isn't it? And I'm not exaggerating when I turn around and say this is probably the biggest lesson from 2025 going into 2026. That we've already got this database of people. Why aren't we mining? We just call it mining that. Why aren't we getting the goods out of that?
Okay. So follow up then is in 2026. It isn't a task. It's a lifestyle. It's a necessity. You have to do it. Okay. And it's about living the long game, isn't it? So we're talking like valuations from April that suddenly come back in November and list with you because you didn't vanish after the appointment. That's what we're talking about, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Absolutely. So it's not just all about brand new leads. It's about what have you got in there. And this happens quite a lot, doesn't it, Griffin? How many times do you have a situation where somebody turns around to you and says, I will be still making a decision on which agent I'm using. And then you look on your Rightmove report or whatever it might be, the board as you drive home, and boom, there's another agent's board. It's why there's only one reason why that happens, isn't there?
But you're bloody gutted though, aren't you?
You are always gutted. The only thing that's worse is when you see a previous client's board, another agent outside a previous client's board. But then again, that's probably the same thing, isn't it? You know, if you were looking at it from a sales trainer's point of view, then you would say that you've got the reason that they've gone on with another agent rather than with you is because of the fact that you haven't kept in contact with them since they've been in their new house. And if you had followed up with them, if you had spent time talking to them, then actually you would continue to give yourself a better chance of getting that piece of business.
Okay, so what you're saying is that 2026 has taught us something huge, that it's not necessarily about all the new leads. The real gold is people that are already in your world. So that's what you're saying, isn't it? People that are already there.
Already there, ready to go.
Those. Yeah.
Exactly, 100%. Okay. So following it, and it could just be literally as much as a WhatsApp market update. It could just be an email, a telephone call, a text message, or, you know, heaven forbid, you might actually just bump into them into Tesco's, whatever it may be. But you are constantly keeping in contact with these people so that they become a piece of business going forward. Okay.
And we've talked on previous shows about how some agents will go out on evaluation and they will never follow up. And you just think that is a piece of business that you might as well just taken your £500 and thrown it down the street or given it straight to charity, because that's your gold, isn't it? And if you don't follow those up, and this is about being really hard on yourself. Actually, no, it's not about being hard on yourself. It's about doing your job properly, isn't it? Do what you say you're going to do and then do it 10% better. And so really well, if we did all that, we probably wouldn't need to prospect or cold call at all, because everything we've got in our database, we're not mining properly.
And why isn't that a motivation? Because the hardest thing in the world is picking up and doing cold calling.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So we've got a good one there. So the first one, so follow up is the new prospecting. So follow up, looking after your database, making sure you're sending lovely little WhatsApp notes, messages, just saw this property and thought of you kind of thing. And we care. You as an agent, as a business owner, really, really care. And people remember who cares, I always think. Yeah. So it's not about chasing new leads. Yeah. It's about stewarding and managing your relationships.
Tiny, noticeable things. That's the thing, isn't it? Okay, go on to number 2 then, Griffin. This one's yours.
Okay, so pragmatism is power. Now, some of you might have to Google pragmatism, okay? But what I mean here is this is about a mindset shift. It isn't the market that is the problem. It's expectations. Okay, so the market isn't the problem. Expectations are. So
being pragmatic from the very start, and actually probably being more hop. Channel your inner hop. This is a pear-faced front line, no fluffy stuff. Don't come here for a fluffer. You are only going to get hard truths from the very start. So the
So you made me laugh now. You made me laugh.
I know. It's a difficult conversation from the very start. So this comes back to we always always end up leaning to overvaluing, but actually let's put that to one side and say, where's the difficult conversations? Managing expectations on time. Your best offer might be your first offer. That you do really need to get the children's bedrooms ship-shape because it's a family concern putting a house on the market and getting it sold. So if it looks like a teenage den, then that's all that people are going to remember. It needs to look like a hotel bedroom. The garden needs sorting. The front needs painting. The agent is the best person to be doing the viewings, not the seller. All of these difficult conversations are dead easy to duck and move, or the very fact that the value of the property will be determined by the market, not by the capital gains tax you're going to have to pay, not by the fact that your partner thinks it's being sold cheap, not by what your mates think down the pub or your friend that used to be an agent or a surveyor that's retired. It doesn't matter. And actually, not what you think or I think. It's what the market thinks.
Or that you're buying a more expensive house, so you need yours to be worth as much as possible, because that's not how it works.
No, because if you were buying a cheaper house, you wouldn't sell it cheaper, would you?
But this is the point. So this is having the hard conversation, and you can have that discussion, but sometimes having it written down in a guide, or I've got like 10 steps to the mistakes that you shouldn't make when you're selling. So let me know if you want a copy of that. I know you've used it, and it's just about don't be fixated on the price that you want. Don't turn down an early offer, thinking someone will come along. How many times have we had that? And we've said to the seller, don't turn that down. I know it's less than you wanted, but we'll negotiate it off on the forward one. And they go, no. And then they either don't sell or they end up selling it substantially less because they didn't listen to you. And we are the professionals, yeah? And so there's no kind of going out on the let's try it and see, let's hope for the best. Let's pop it on it. Hope is not a strategy.
Love that. Hope is not a strategy. So that for those two, the points 1 and 2 could dovetail together, couldn't they? Your guides, your top 10 mistakes to avoid could also form part of your follow-up. Yeah, which actually takes me on to the.
Oh, I just say it's having that awkward conversation, like you were saying. It's you have to have it, otherwise the market will have it for you in front of the seller with a lack of viewings if you don't do things quickly.
Yes, I like that. So the third one that I'm going to put in there for survival guide that I think all estate agents must have in 2026 is something that I haven't implemented but need to. How many times do you drive around between appointments or have conversations like you and I have and think, well, that's a good idea, but never actually get round to implementing it because you never get time to sort it out and then you forget about it until somebody brings it up or you think about it again in 6 months' time. So actually an ideas board, a memory book, whatever it may be, a list of things that are great ideas that you can implement in your career, your job, your business, that you can keep referring back to. I think every estate agent in their survival guide should have a memory board.
So we call that a thought sheet.
I like that thought sheet.
That's quite good. And that could be a whiteboard. It could be digital. I know how you like digital. And you basically just, or even your sticky notes on a wall somewhere. Oh my God, I said it. Sorry, your post-it notes. Oh my God.
Absolutely not.
So your thought sheet, and on that can go down all your ideas. You can do it on OneNote and you can share it within your team. You just come up with some of your ideas, like we were saying, how you go about presenting your reviews, how you kind of look at or your guides. You should have a guide for absolutely everything. That's what we're looking at on our thought sheet, aren't we?
And I think, all estate agents are very fortunate because they're team-based. It's a team game, isn't it? So whilst there is always a leader of a team or a team captain or however you want to look at it, they don't always come up with the best ideas. Often the best ideas come up either from the team or your clientele. Remember, years ago, you used to have ideas boards, ideas thoughts in suggestion slips in banks. So banks used to have a suggestion box, didn't they? And you could put your suggestion in how they could improve. Something like that. Very clever. Okay. Very, very clever.
Okay. Right. So we're on to number 3 now. So I've written down here. My survival essentials is presentation still wins. Okay. And what I mean by that is, so in a slow market, and especially in a slow market, presentation really matters. So that's decluttering, you were saying about tidying the front lawn, all of that. Yeah, this is where we're kind of at, is that you don't lose market share if you are good at presenting your property. So buyers are picky, they want to see the right stuff, they've got choice, they're educated, they're comparing your listings to every other listing within a 5-mile radius, and small improvements make the big difference. It's the heart always rules over the head. Yeah, so presentation is really, really important. So fresh photos, dating them, you know you can do this if your CRM system doesn't do it. And I hate to mention Rightmove, but I've had a really, really good update with my Rightmove rep this week, Ali, and she has shown me, because obviously you don't always log into your back office, but actually we pay a lot of money, let's use it, and it will highlight if after a certain number of days your property listing hasn't been refreshed. So it's there straight away. It's really, really easy to show it up. My CRM doesn't do that, but you can do that on Rightmove. So there's no excuse for poor presentation or non-refreshed listings.
No, so it doesn't always just mean reordering the photographs, does it? It's sort of, if you are selling a lifestyle, going back to your point at number 1, which is that prospecting needs to be a lifestyle. If you are presenting a lifestyle in a property, then which target market are you aiming towards? Is there a set A and a set B of images so that it keeps you completely fresh and up to date? If we are restricted by the things that we spoke about last week in terms of if you take a property off the market, it's got to be off for 14 weeks before it goes on as a new listing, or 7 weeks as a sale, etc. How else can you keep things refreshed? You don't need to rely on just it being a mail shot out to other to new buyers. What can you do? Don't rely on Rightmove. Rightmove is a tool, like a plumber brings in a spanner. Rightmove is a tool. It's not how you run your business. So changing the write-up, changing the photos, doing a new video, doing a different, stand outside the front of the thing with your iPhone and just turn around and say, this is why I love this property, and put it out on your LinkedIn account. Whatever it may be, it just keeps things fresh, doesn't it?
So this is also, I think, about taking a long, hard look at yourself, your listing, your digital presence online, looking at your office. So a long, hard look at yourself. And you need to look at it that presentation is currency, and poor presentation is a tax. So I'm just going to say that again, okay? Presentation is a currency and poor presentation is a tax. And this,
I tell you what, that'll be all over the trade press this week.
It's just really important, isn't it? It follows up from what we said last week about just making sure that everything is tippity tip-top and do all that. Now, David Mintz is online listening to us, and he's basically saying, can you tell a story about the house that gives a buyer more emotional buy-in that extends beyond a photo? And actually, this, I think, is something that you could do in a playbook. So just kind of jumping ahead, we always talk about, don't we, reviewing your year's success and looking back at the year. But how about putting together, a story about your best townhouse you've sold, your brilliant off-market deal, the best thatched property or most unusual property, and you put it into a playbook, and that's telling the story of what you did and how you went about selling that, and that's your kind of what you did in 2025 and how you tell the story of a home. A little bit different to what David's just said, but I think that would really work.
But I do also, just picking up on David's point, I would suggest that a paragraph that turns around and said there's a south-facing courtyard that would be perfect for pre-drinks before you walk into the village to have an evening meal at the weekend probably sells the lifestyle of that house better than the fact there's a UPVC double glazed window to the front elevation and 2 double PowerPoints.
Absolutely. Okay, right, Martyn. So introduce your favourite one, which I think is survival essential number 4.
So this is my big one. And I think it's all about small. I don't care if this is small business. I've called it small business, but could also be a negotiator, a viewing representative, a valuer, a manager, a business owner. But the small business aggression, do 10% more than your competitors. Do 10% more. So it's not about being 100% better all of the time compared to your competitors. You just need to be 10% better. So 10% more prepared for evaluation, 10% more prepared for reviewing, 10% greater follow-up, 10% more information, spending 10% longer at the market appraisal compared to your competitors, because we actually know the agent that stays there the longest will be the agent that comes away with the business. So 10% more of absolutely everything than your competitors. Your office looks 10% smarter. So if you've got 10 bulbs in the window and 9 of them are out, or 2 of them are out, you're 20% less than your agent down the road. Get a bulb in.
Right.
10% better.
Okay, so I just want to mention the one thing that you mentioned there about being 10% better on viewings. Now, how many times do negotiators, people who are doing the viewings, rush in, grab the keys, and go, I'm meeting Katie Smith, great stuff, and off they go. I think we've got to take a long, hard look at what we're doing and just saying, right, have they got a solicitor? Have they got what's their situation? Have they got a property to sell? What else have they looked at? What else are they not looking at that I've got that's similar? Or are they qualified? Are they unqualified applicant? I think that there's a lot more you can do, and obviously being prepared to actually show off your property at the viewing. Have you got your viewing notes? Have you got the right key and the alarm codes? Do you know where you should be parking? All of those things. Are you leaving enough time? And I think this is just, if you're 10% better at doing your viewings, have you, like we talked about with testimonials, we have little business cards with QR codes on that we can hand out to our viewers. So at every step of the journey, you can ask for a testimonial, not just at the point that you've done business. You're still having a business relationship with someone when they're viewing. And I think that that's really, really important, because when we're busy, we forget about the little add-ons like testimonials, which are absolutely key for our business. And in fact, being 10% better is having 10% more testimonials as well, isn't it?
Exactly. So it's but then consistency is key. There's no point being 10% better in December because it's a bit quieter. Consistency is key. Be 10% better, get the processes in place, and keep moving forward. I tell you how. I give you just picking up on your viewing example. You see an applicant that lives on a prime street. They're going to view a property through you, and you want to get a market appraisal on that property. The 10% better rule would be the valuer going out and doing that viewing rather than the trainee or the viewing representative, because there's more chance that valuer will be able to close the valuation. And that's the difference between standard and 10% better.
Excellent. I love that. So there you have it. That is your 2026 survival kit. So this is about following up like a pro, tell the truth early, present beautifully, and give 10% more than anybody else. Absolutely flying.
Superb. Grifter, why did the estate agent take a ladder to the market appraisal?
I don't know. Why did the estate agent take a ladder to the market appraisal?
Because after the recent budget, the market's on the up.
That's terrible. That is so terrible. I heard one on the radio this morning about a pickle, and then I completely forgot it. I was like, oh no. When your head doesn't keep stuff in, and then it keeps like crazy.
These dad jokes are more stressful than you realise. I
know. So we've talked, haven't we, about getting testimonials, and I think that that's something that you can focus on. And that's not just a December thing. That's a consistency that you need to make sure that you're doing all throughout the year. We talked, I mentioned obviously about Rightmove and my great kind of update. Now, they provided me with an 87-page PowerPoint of insights. Now, if you're not getting this, you should be getting it. So not only does it tell what they're doing behind the scenes, you can flip through those pages, but it also goes through and tells you some really strong hard stats, which I think is really, really important when you're pitching out, or even if you are looking to get a price adjustment. So get in touch with your Rightmove rep. Let me know. I can share those slides out. It is quite interesting. Again, the data is about, it's talking about Boxing Day bounce, but it's also talking about other things like price reductions. If you reduce the price, it's going to take you 100 days to sell your property. All things that I think vendors want to know and we aren't necessarily telling them about. So I think that that's super important. Playbook is the new word now, isn't it? We don't do a small presentation, it's a playbook. So we touched about getting your review of the year, your stories, your top sales, your deals that you've done, and making sure that you're putting that out a bit like a Wrapped for 2025 with Spotify. So there's a few kind of things that you can do there, and your thought sheet.
Okay. So you're telling me that the turquoise portal is adding some value for money?
I think think it has to, because it's that price rise time of year. I just had that conversation. And so from my point of view, is whilst it's really, really painful to pay another 200 and something pounds a month, I want to make sure that I'm getting absolutely everything out of it that I can, because it is expensive to be on there and we have to be on there. So if they can provide me with some additional data, if they can provide me with some statistics, which help me win business, not a rubbishy old best price guide, but if they can provide me with genuine add-on good information, I want to say that I'm happy to pay, but at least I'm getting a little bit more bang for my buck, as it were.
Excellent. I look forward to that conversation.
So have we just about covered everything off for this week?
I think we have. I think we're good.
So we've talked about taking a long, hard look at yourself. We've talked about following it like a pro, presenting beautifully, and we've even done a terrible, terrible dad joke. So don't worry, because the dad jokes Christmas version will be out from next week, because we'll be counting it down to the Christmas time. Have a really, really good week. Don't work too hard. Oh, yes, you must. You've got to be 10% better. And if you want our checklist, just get in touch. Have a good one.